You know that feeling when your own family, the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally, make you feel like a constant disappointment? That's been my life, all thanks to my golden child brother. But one night, that all changed in a way none of us saw coming. So, my name's Jason, and I'm 28. For as long as I can remember, I've pretty much existed in the shadow of my older brother, Nick. And honestly, to say my parents adored him would be a massive understatement. He was their golden boy, their everything. From the moment we were kids, Nick was the perfect student, the star athlete, the one who always had his entire life mapped out. And then there was me. I struggled through school, felt lost with no real direction, and just constantly felt like I was letting my parents down. It wasn't just that Nick was successful, he was the benchmark. Every single person, especially me, was measured against him, and it never, ever worked out in my favor. I spent years trying to forge my own path, to just be me. But it felt like I was constantly swimming upstream, battling an invisible current. The harder I tried to do my own thing, the more my parents would push. Why can't you just get your life together like your brother, Jason? Nick already has his own company. When are you going to figure things out? Man, it was exhausting. Draining even. Fast forward a few months ago, and my parents decided they'd officially had enough of my lack of ambition. I was working at a tech firm, a pretty steady, respectable job. Nothing flashy, sure, but it paid the bills, and honestly, I liked it. I found a decent work-life balance there. But my parents? They couldn't care less about any of that. They didn't care about my happiness, or that I actually enjoyed what I did. All they saw was modest. They cared about success, their definition of it. Huge salaries, high status, that entire perfect American dream package. Then one evening it all hit the fan. We were at dinner, my parents, Nick, and me. Mom started off innocently enough, asking about my job. I told her it was fine, nothing special, but I was happy. And that's when Nick, sitting directly across from me, just casually dropped a bomb. "Oh, hey," he said, "I just hired a new manager for one of my companies." He's 25. Already managing teams of 50-plus people. He said it like he was talking about the weather, but man, did it sting. I'm almost 30, and I still felt like I was just barely finding my feet. And of course, my parents pounced. "Nick is right," my dad said, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You're over 28 now. It's time you took your future seriously. You can't just keep bouncing around from one job to the next. Look at Nick. He has his life together. What's stopping you?" I tried to shrug it off, honestly. Told them I was happy with my career, that I didn't need to compare myself to Nick. But Dad wasn't having any of it. "What are you going to do, Jason? Just sit around and let Nick outdo you at everything? You're living off his success. You can't keep being satisfied with fine forever." Those words? They felt like a physical slap across the face. And Nick, sitting there, that smug little smile plastered on his face, he didn't even try to defend me. Nope. He just poured gasoline on the fire. "You're not getting any younger, Jason," he chimed in. "You should be thinking about what kind of legacy you're going to leave. I mean, look at me. I'm already thinking about my retirement plan, and I'm only 30. What are you doing?" That's when it hit me. It wasn't just about the job anymore. It was about everything. My dad, Nick, they didn't see me. They only saw a failure, someone who could never measure up to Nick's impossible standard. My heart started absolutely pounding in my chest. It felt like this invisible weight was crushing me, stealing my breath. But I stayed silent, just trying to keep my composure. Inside, though, the frustration was bubbling, practically boiling over. I swore to myself right then that I wasn't going to let them control my life anymore. I wasn't going to be the person they expected. And I knew something they didn't. A secret. A huge one. See, over the last year, my career had taken this wild, unexpected turn. After endless late nights, grinding hard, and teaching myself a ton, I'd actually started a side business. It began small, a tiny seed, but the potential, it was enormous. And over the last few months, my income had absolutely skyrocketed. I was making more than Nick. A lot more. I wasn't just getting by anymore. I was truly succeeding on my own damn terms. So that night, as the pressure just kept mounting, I finally snapped. "You know what, Dad?" I cut him off mid-sentence. "You want to know what I'm doing with my life?" The entire table went silent. My mom looked up, fork halfway to her mouth. Nick's eyebrow quirked up. Dad leaned forward, curiosity etched on his face. "What's that supposed to mean, Jason?" he asked. "I'll tell you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, but feeling the adrenaline surge. "I make more than Nick right now. This second." There was this long, agonizing silence. Then Nick let out a nervous laugh, like I was telling a joke. "Come on, Jason, you can't seriously think you're—" "I do." I interrupted him, cutting him off cold. "I make more than you by a lot. And I've been keeping it quiet because I didn't want to rub it in your face, but I've had enough. I am not some disappointment." My dad's face turned bright red. My mom looked like she was about to pass out. And Nick? His usual smug look was gone, replaced by pure, utter disbelief. I wasn't sure what I expected, but it definitely wasn't that. "Prove it," my dad finally choked out, his voice trembling. I pulled out my phone, swiped, tapped, and showed them the screenshots of my latest earnings. Numbers that, honestly, even I hadn't fully processed yet. The silence in that dining room was absolutely deafening. My dad, still reeling, looked from Nick to me, then back again. How? How did you do this?" I took a deep breath. Hard work, did. Not following someone else's path. Not trying to fit into someone else's box. I found my own way. I built something from the ground up. And I didn't need Nick's success to do it. Nick opened his mouth, but no words came out. My mom sat there, quiet, her face a mix of shock and maybe guilt. The tension in that room was suffocating. I could feel the weight of that moment on all of us. But before anyone could say another word, I stood up. I was done. "I'm done with this," I stated, my voice firm. "I don't need your approval. I'm finally proud of who I am." And I walked out. I didn't wait for a response. But as I stepped outside, into the cool night air, this incredible sense of relief washed over me. I wasn't living in Nick's shadow anymore. Little did I know, that was just the calm before the real storm. That next week, everything felt different. It wasn't an outright confrontation from my parents or Nick, but there was this cold, tense vibe, a silent undercurrent every time I stepped into a room. It was like they were all trying to process what I'd said, but nobody knew how to actually react. Nick, to my surprise, didn't call. Not once. He always had to be the one to initiate contact, you know? The irresponsible one. I figured he was probably embarrassed, or maybe just furious. Honestly, I didn't care. My focus had completely shifted. It wasn't about proving them wrong anymore. It was about staying true to my path. I wasn't going to let anyone derail that. But the real storm? That hit about 3 days later. I was finally winding down after a long day, working on my business, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom. "Jason, we need to talk. Your father is really upset and we don't understand why you're keeping this a secret from us. You're still our son and we want to be proud of you. Please come over." I just stared at the message. My pulse started racing. Really upset? My dad got angry, sure, but this felt different. This wasn't an invite for dinner or a chat about my business. This felt like an intervention. I hesitated. Part of me, the angry part, wanted to just ignore it, let them stew in their own drama. But then there was this other part of me, the one that still, deep down, craved their approval, that felt a tiny pang of guilt. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe they deserved a chance to see the real me, to see how far I'd truly come. So, against my better judgment, I went. Walking into their house? It felt exactly like walking into a courtroom. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Nick was there, of course, sprawled on the couch, arms crossed, wearing that same infuriating look of superiority that always managed to make me feel small. Dad was pacing back and forth, a restless energy about him. Mom sat at the kitchen table, her hands folded neatly, looking almost fragile. "Jason," my dad began, his voice low, but with this tightly controlled edge. "We've been talking, and we think you owe us an explanation. What is going on with you?" My stomach just knotted up. "I've already explained everything, Dad," I said. "I'm doing fine. More than fine, actually." "Oh, you're doing fine?" Nick cut in, a little too sharply, a sneer barely hidden. "You've been hiding this from us, Jason. You've been making more than me this whole time, and you didn't tell anyone? What kind of brother does that?" His words stung, but I held my ground. What kind of brother keeps talking down to his own sibling like that? I shot back. "Maybe I didn't tell anyone because I didn't need you to know. Maybe I didn't want to be compared to you again." That shut him up. For a second, anyway. But Dad wasn't done. "This isn't about Nick, Jason. It's about you not being honest with us. You're not a kid anymore. You should have shared this. We could have been happy for you. Proud of you." I looked at my mom then. For the first time, I saw a hint of something fragile in her eyes. Uncertainty. It wasn't the reaction I'd braced myself for. "I wasn't hiding anything," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, battling the tremor in my chest. I didn't feel like I had to announce my success to the world. I did it on my own terms, and that's how I wanted it. But that's the problem, isn't it? You guys don't respect my choices. You didn't respect me until you saw the numbers. You didn't respect me until you saw I could do something big. It was like a light bulb flickered on. My mom's expression shifted. She was still quiet, but there was this undeniable spark of realization, like she was finally starting to get it. Dad, though, wasn't letting go that easily. "We've tried to do everything for you, Jason. We wanted you to be happy. But you can't just keep running away from your responsibilities. You need to stop acting like you're above us. You're not. You're still our son, and you need to acknowledge that." I took a deep, shaky breath, searching for the right words. "I don't want to act above you, Dad," I said, forcing the words out. I don't want to be compared to Nick anymore. I'm so tired of it. I'm my own person, and I've earned my success. I've worked damn hard for this. Don't make me feel bad about it." Another heavy silence descended. Nick looked like he was about to jump in, but I refused to give him the satisfaction. Dad's face was flushed, his eyes darting, clearly trying to process everything I'd just thrown at him. Then my mom. She finally spoke up. Maybe we've been too hard on you, Jason," she said, her voice softer, more vulnerable than I'd heard it in years. "We've always been so focused on Nick's success that we forgot to truly see you for who you are." I honestly couldn't believe what I was hearing. It felt like a small victory, a crack in their armor. But I wasn't ready to drop my guard just yet. "It's not just about success, Mom," I pressed on. "It's about respect. It's about being able to stand on my own 2 feet without feeling like I have to apologize for it." At that moment, my dad let out this deep sigh, rubbing his temples. "I'm sorry, Jason," he said, his voice thick with something I couldn't quite place. "I didn't mean to pressure you. But you have to understand, we just want what's best for you. We want to see you succeed. It's just hard for us to let go of this idea that you need our approval." The air in the room lightened a tiny bit, but that tension? It was still there, buzzing faintly. I knew this conversation wasn't over. Not by a long shot. There was so much left to unpack, so many old wounds to heal. But for the first time, I felt like I'd actually made them hear me. I left my parents' house that night feeling not defeated, but definitely uncertain. I knew I still had more to prove, but this time, it wasn't to them. It was to myself. I knew that even if they never fully understood me, I could keep moving forward. But just when I thought the worst of the storm had passed, the very next morning, I got a text from Nick. Dad's really upset. He thinks you're getting a little too cocky with all this success. Maybe you should think about making things right with him before it's too late. I read that message twice. My anger, which I thought had subsided, flared up again. Nick wasn't even trying to hide his disdain, was he? But this time, I knew I wasn't going to let him manipulate me. I called him instead of texting back. Nick, I said, my voice cold, my resolve iron hard. This is the last time. I'm done with this game. There was a beat of silence on his end, probably stunned by my tone. What are you talking about? He finally asked, but I could hear the tension in his voice. I'm talking about the pressure, the comparisons, and Dad's constant attempts to make me feel like I'm not enough. I told him, my voice growing steadier with every word. I'm done. I've worked hard to get where I am, and I don't owe anyone an explanation for it. Not you, not him, no one. Nick sighed. I get it, man, I do. But Dad's not going to take it well. You know how he is. I don't care anymore, Nick, I interrupted him. I've spent my whole life caring about how they feel, about how they see me. But no more. I'm not doing this for their approval. I'm doing this for me. Another long silence. Then finally Nick just said, okay, I get it. I just wanted to warn you, that's all. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Thanks, but I've got it. I'm done being the one who bends. If Dad's mad, that's on him. I hung up feeling this strange sense of finality. It wasn't going to be easy, but I was done playing by anyone's rules but my own. I had chosen my path, and nothing was going to stop me from walking it. The very next morning, the call came. From my dad. I wasn't surprised. I'd been bracing myself for it. I let it ring for a beat, my heart pounding, then I answered. Jason. His voice was tight, almost formal. We need to talk. About what? I asked, keeping my voice as level as I could. About your promotion, he said. You didn't even mention it to me. Not a word. It's not like you to keep something like that to yourself. I could feel that old, familiar pressure building, that tug of guilt starting to creep back in. But not this time. I didn't mention it, I said, fighting to keep my voice calm even as anger simmered beneath the surface, because it's not something I need your approval for anymore. I'm proud of what I've achieved, but I didn't need you to tell me I was worth it. I figured that out on my own. There was a long, heavy silence on his end. When he finally spoke again, his voice was lower, softer, almost hesitant. I didn't mean to push you, Jason. I just wanted to be proud of you. I know you do, I said, my voice softening slightly too. But I need you to understand, Dad. I can't be proud of the person you want me to be. I have to be proud of the person I am. Another long pause. And then he said it. The words I'd spent my entire life secretly wishing for. I've been thinking about what you said. About how I've treated you. I'm sorry. The weight of those words settled in my chest. I'd waited for them for so long, hoped for them. And now that they were here, they didn't feel like a magical relief. They felt like a start. A beginning. I appreciate that, I said quietly. I really do. But I need more than just an apology, Dad. I need you to actually listen. To see me for who I am, not who you want me to be. I'm willing to try, he said, his voice laced with emotion. But it's going to take time. I know, I agreed, feeling something profoundly shift inside me. It's going to take time for all of us. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm just not going to be your second choice anymore. We sat in silence for a while longer, but this time it was different. There was no judgment, no suffocating pressure. Just two people, father and son, trying to finally understand each other. For the first time in a very long time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could actually get somewhere. As the conversation wound down and I hung up the phone, this incredible, quiet sense of peace settled over me. It wasn't perfect, not by a long shot, and I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But for the very first time, I felt like I was truly standing on my own 2 feet, ready to walk a path that was entirely, unequivocally mine.